Hello and welcome to New Mexico Rising. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week I try to bring people from across the country to talk to me about things we can do right here in your neighborhood. Oh, and on this week's show, I know this is something that I don't say very often to my guests, but you are a crazy person.
Guilty as charged, okay?
She's here. She's always here. I am so guilty. I feel so much shame. I have such deep survivor's remorse. All I want to do is go back and change the past, but I can't.
All of that and more right here on New Mexico Rising. Grief, friendship, and a little dark humor. My Dead Friend Zoe brings it all together in a story about a veteran navigating life with her best friend, who just, happens to be a ghost. Sonequa Martin-Green stars as Merritt, a U.S. Army veteran facing family struggles, personal loss, and the ever-present Zoe. The movie's already in theaters, and Sonequa joins me right now. Welcome to the show, Sonequa. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
All right. This film walks like a fine line between drama, dark comedy. Like, how did you approach playing Merritt, someone that's like dealing with grief in such a really unconventional way?
Oh, well, thank you for calling it unconventional. It's a lot of a lot of how I dealt with it and the carrying of the role and the carrying of the weight of the role was because I was seeking to do justice to Kyle Houseman Stokes, because this is his story. Our director, who also wrote this, AJ Bermudez, helped write as well, but this is his story 93% as it happened. And so from the very beginning, I knew that I needed to do this justice. And this is a veteran story. It is about PTSD, survivor's remorse and shame and guilt and acclimating to life after war. But it's also for anybody, whether you served or not, who's dealing with these things, because so many of us are. So many are walking around with this kind of pain. So I think that in order for all of that to land, and in order for the prevailing theme of the film to come across, which is talk about it before you make a rash decision, talk about it, I think we need the humor to really like round it out. And so Natalie Morales, she offers that buoyancy that the film needs. And I mean, she's mainly the reason why, it's a dark comedy. Kyle wrote a really brilliantly balanced script, and it was wonderful to be able to bring it to life with her. And sort of, I represent the gravity, she represented the levity.
She's hilarious.
Yes.
Just absolutely hilarious. How did you go about, like, I don't want to, I'm spoiling it. All right. She's Tyler Durden, basically a Fight Club the entire time. How do you go about telling the story from that perspective, that you are in some scenes being yourself, communicating with some of the characters that are around you, and then also on the same level communicating with her, and also as everybody around you is staring at you like, this person's crazy, this person's off your rocker? How do you play that fine line as a character? Because that must have been one hell of a hard role to do, to be able to like play two conversations at once while you're the only one that's in both of them at the same time.
That's a really great question. Thank you for asking. I think that there was a obviously there's a totality of thoughts and experiences that fed into Merritt, right? And that fed into Kyle. Merritt as Kyle as Merritt, right? Me as Merritt, bringing Kyle's life to the light. I think that what made it I won't say easy, but what made it doable for me was knowing that this is the way this woman lives. This woman lives with this constant this constant presence of the guilt and the shame and the survivor's remorse. And something that Natalie Morales says a lot is she likes to call Zoe a guilt demon, right? Because she isn't a ghost. It isn't the actual Zoe. It's a manifestation of her, and she's grown to this level of personification because of the harping on it, because this is something that is growing and toxifying and fermenting in Merritt's heart and in her mind. So it's almost like growing and growing and swelling to the point where it's going to take over her life. And we see that it sort of has, right? And so it was interesting because knowing that she's always on my mind, that was how every moment was played. She's here. She's always here. I am so guilty. I feel so much shame. I have such deep survivor's remorse. All I want to do is go back and change the past, but I can't. And I'm stuck in this loop of pain because of it.
Sonequa Martin-Green, thanks for joining me this morning. My Dead Friend Zoe is now playing in theaters, so if you haven't seen it yet, this is the perfect time to go check it out. To find showtimes, to learn more, go to mydeadfriendzoemovie.com. Sonequa, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Natural disasters are becoming more frequent and more intense, causing billions of dollars in damage every single year. So how do we build homes that can stand up to the toughest conditions? Renowned storm chaser Josh Morgerman, also known as Hurricane Man, has been inside more hurricanes than anyone on the planet. That 78 and counting. So he's joining us live from the International Builder Show to talk about climate resilient homes and how the right materials like those from James Hardie can help homes withstand that extreme weather. Welcome to the show, Josh. How are you, my friend?
Great to be here, Dan. Thanks a lot.
I know this is something that I don't say very often to my guests, but you are a crazy person.
Guilty as charged, okay?
You are storm chasing and jumping in hurricanes. That drives it. Okay, I'm in. You have the most experience. Why is it more important than ever for people to build climate resilient homes?
Yeah, well, first off, I just want to say I've spent my whole life being ridiculed for the life I've chosen, so it's totally cool.
I'm sorry.
Totally cool.
I'm
not
sorry.
Offended.
I was just calling a spade.
No, it's totally cool. But no, here's the deal, though. Putting myself in all these dangerous situations all around the world has given me some pretty profound insights into, okay, what I need to do with my home that I built in a very hurricane-prone area to make it resistant to climate. And the things I did with my home apply to folks all over North America, because North America, wherever you are, Florida, the desert Southwest, you name it, we live in a very violent continent in terms of weather and climate. So we've got to make our homes resistant to these forces. It's a smart thing to do. Don't worry about these destructive forces, just build for them.
So what are some practical ways homeowners can actually just make their existing homes more durable against some of this extreme weather?
Well, I always like to give folks a checklist of 3 things in places that are prone to, let's say, like windstorms, whether they be hurricanes or tornadoes or straight line winds, which is a lot of the United States. So one is look at your roof. Okay. I always say if your roof stays on, you're going to be okay. If it comes off, it's game over. So make sure it's properly engineered, make sure it's strapped on. Sometimes there's a little bit you can do to just make sure it's properly attached, even with your existing home. There's things you could do that don't cost a lot of money to keep it on. And maybe if it's time for a re-roofing, think about really investing. I built my home on the Mississippi Gulf Coast on a budget, okay? But the thing I spent money on was the roof because I knew how important it was. Second thing is your windows, okay? Windows are like the Achilles heel of your house. They're the weak point, okay? Window breaks, the wind gets in, that can do a lot of structural damage because the house is almost like a balloon. It fills with the air. So with windows, you either want impact glass, which won't shatter when debris hits it, or you want a good shutter system, which is what I have. When we have a storm coming, a hurricane, I just shutter up the house and it's sealed like a vault. And then finally, I think the most important thing is your siding. So I see the siding on my home as like its coat of armor, okay? And I originally wanted wood, and my builder was like, no way, we're using something else called fiber cement. And I was like, okay, what is that? That doesn't sound nice. Sounds ugly, actually. Okay, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development recommends fiber cement siding because it's resistant to fire, wind, and water, okay? And if you do the right brand like James Hardie, it looks exactly like wood. I built my home in an historical district where it has to look like the home has to look 100 years old. So I have this lap siding that looks like wood, even up close, but it's made of this fiber cement. Now, why did I do it? Impact resistant, moisture resistant. It doesn't rot. It doesn't mold. Termites hate it. Okay, which is really awesome. That's like a benefit right there. And it's even non-combustible. So those are 3 things: your roof, your windows, and good fiber cement siding that's going to protect the inside of your home.
Yeah, you don't want to turn your house into an Airbnb for termites.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're at the International Builder Show. What are some of the biggest trends in home construction that you're seeing right now?
Well, I think it's this attention to climate resilience. I think, we've had like a bunch of bad hurricane seasons in a row especially on the Gulf Coast. In the desert Southwest, we've had devastating fires, especially in California, even out in Hawaii. We've had some bad tornado seasons. We've had these unbelievable floods. We've really been like through the ringer the last few years all across the United States in terms of natural disasters. And I think that builders are really thinking about this now. It's not just about how the house looks, but how it's going to perform in these kind of stressful situations. Because you want a home that doesn't just look nice, but that's built to last. And so I think that's what everyone's looking at. So James Hardy is looking at. It's really smart. It's like, how do you look nice, but how do you survive? How do you be tough?
I want to thank you for joining me this morning, and I know I've been picking on you, but hey, I'm afraid of a nice warm breeze. But where can we go for more information and learn more about building stronger homes?
I'm gonna have to take you out with me to toughen you up. But if you want to learn more about, just sort of like how to properly side your house with a good fiber cement siding, go to JamesHardie, HARDIE.com. If you want to follow my crazy adventures, follow me on most social media platforms. iCyclone, the letter I, the word cyclone.
I'm in. I'll go. This sounds like an adventure. Josh Morgerman, thanks for joining me this morning, my friend.
Thanks, Dan.
March is National Nutrition Month, and it's all about making smarter food choices and understanding how what we eat connects us. Well, if figuring out how to eat healthier feels a little overwhelming, don't worry, I'm on the same page. I'm really bad at this stuff. So hopefully our guest today is going to help make it simple. Today we have Gillian Barkyoumb, nutritionist, dietitian, and founder of What's for Dinner Club. She's here to share her best tips for easy, nutritious meals, even if you don't have time to cook from scratch. She's all about those quick, no-fuss solutions that work for busy schedules. Welcome to the show, Gillian.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
All right, National Nutrition Month is a great reminder to think about like what we're eating. Why is it so important to highlight nutrition this time of year?
As a dietitian, I think it's so important to care about what you're eating, and National Nutrition Month is the perfect opportunity to kind of reevaluate some of our choices. Nutrition really starts by making the right selections at the grocery store, so I'm excited to share some better for you options today.
And a lot of people want to eat healthier, but don't really know where to start. What's like an easy first step?
Yeah, it can feel a little challenging, but you're going to want to start by filling your pantry with some of those healthy everyday items. One of my go-tos is Justin's almond butter. It's my go-to choice for plant-based protein because it's made with non-GMO, project-verified, mindfully sourced ingredients that I feel really good about, and you can too. I love the delicious flavors, the one-of-a-kind grind, and the fact that it adds protein and fiber to any meal. Just a 2 tablespoon serving of Justin's classic almond butter delivers 6 grams of plant-based protein and 3 grams of fiber. So it's perfect for keeping you energized and satisfied throughout the day.
And getting kids or like just a picky eater in general to eat nutritious foods, it can be a challenge. Do you have any tricks to try to sneak in the good stuff?
Yes, I know it can be a challenge, but as a mom of 3, I've had my share of picky eaters, and I think a great place to start is dairy milk. It's a cost-effective, nutrient-rich option that can support kids' growth and development and sleep through delicious, creamy meals the whole family will love. Dairy milk, including lactose-free and chocolate milk, is a leading food source for 9 essential nutrients in children ages 2 to 18, including calcium, vitamin D, and complete protein. I honestly think it's the ultimate mom hack. The nutrients work together to help kids reach their high potential and grow strong bones, plus support better sleep. So you definitely need this, and I think it's something that parents can get behind too.
And we all get cravings for sweets. What's a better for you alternative that still satisfies that sweet tooth?
Well, I have something to think when you try. The whole family is going to be big fans. I love Natural Delights Medjool dates. They are a nutrient-dense replacement for refined sugars, and they have this delicious caramel flavor, plus the benefit of good-for-you nutrients. They're full of vitamins and minerals like potassium, fiber, and magnesium. And get this, because dates are a fruit, their sugars process slowly in the body, making them a sustainable source of carbohydrates to fuel your day and help curb any of those pesky sugar cravings.
And if somebody wants to improve their nutrition but feels overwhelmed, what's one simple change that they can make starting today?
I think the best thing is to plan ahead, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I created the What's for Dinner Club, for families to have a plan for easy, healthy dinner recipes for the next week, because I feel like when you have a plan, it's so much easier to make healthy choices.
All right, where can we go for more tips and maybe some more resources?
Yeah, you're going to want to go to tipsontv.com, and you can also connect with me by going to whatsfordinnerclub.com or on Instagram at It's Gillian.
Gillian, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
He's back with another season of real-time, high-stakes law enforcement action. It's On Patrol Live. It's become a must-watch, taking viewers across the country as officers patrol their communities, live and unfiltered. Host and executive producer Dan Abrams is here to talk about the new season and the latest additions to the show and what makes On Patrol Live stand out in the world of live TV. Dan, welcome to the show, my friend.
It is great to be with you.
All right, so the show has had a huge impact, giving people insight on kind of giving them an inside look at law enforcement in real time. What do you think has made On Patrol Live such a success?
I think it's the fact that we are a fly on the wall with police officers. You don't know what's going to happen next. The same way the officers don't know what's going to happen next. And the fact that we're in so many different departments, right? I mean, we're in a lot of the time 9 departments at once with multiple cameras, multiple officers, et cetera. I mean, this is quite an operation that we have here. And so I think that the uncertainty, the fact that you get to see what police officers do is what has led this show to be as successful as it is.
And this season, you're expanding to cover Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. How has it been adding such a high-profile department into the mix?
Yeah, we think it's really important. And it was, I think a really good development for the show, because what we try to do is we try to be in different kinds of departments and in different places, right? So, we don't want just all similar departments from one state, right? That wouldn't be as interesting. So we are in states around the country. We are coast to coast. We are in some sheriff's departments. We are in some really small departments. And having Las Vegas in that mix now as a really big department, a top 10 department in the country, helps add to that diversity in terms of the types of policing you'll see on the show.
And with more than 50 cameras capturing the action, there's a lot of happening at once. How do you and your team decide what to highlight and jump on it in that moment?
Yeah, look, it's not easy, right? To figure out exactly where to go. And then to come back to it, by the way, as well, because viewers want to know, well, wait a sec, you were in that scene somewhere else. What ended up happening there? So it is a very complicated show to do, to try to piece together. And look, and sometimes maybe we don't make the right call, meaning it's live, right? So we say, we're going to go here. And then we decide, oh, you know what? Let's actually go to a different scene, et cetera. So that's part of what makes the show so exciting, is the live aspect of it, is the fact that we're going from department to department. And you're right, making those calls sometimes isn't easy.
And the show also features a missing segment that helps try to raise awareness for missing person cases. Do you have a story where On Patrol Live has made a difference?
We have dozens of cases where On Patrol Live has helped find people who are missing. And that really is one of the hallmarks of the show, is we've got this really passionate community, right, who love watching the show, and they are a community. And yet, when we talk about the missing segment and about how they can help, man, they jump. The community shares it on social media, and the number of times that we have heard from either departments or the national organizations that are helping to say, it was the On Patrol viewers who did it. That makes this all worthwhile.
Dan Abrams, I want to thank you for joining me. And I got to show all my love to Reels Channel. That's kind of where I started doing this whole TV producing and all that stuff. So big love to everybody over at Reels Channel too. So there you go, man. You can catch On Patrol Live every Friday and Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern on Reels. Don't miss the action as law enforcement officers take you inside their nightly patrols live and in real time. For more info, visit reels.com. Dan, thanks for joining me, my friend.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure.
NBA Twitter is a world of its own, where memes become legends, viral moments spark debates, and basketball never sleeps. And now it's all coming to life in Memes and Nightmares. It's a satirical mockumentary diving deep into the culture of digital fandom. And at the center of it all, we have Josiah Johnson, the king of NBA Twitter himself. He's here to talk about the film, the madness of social media, and how basketball went from a game to a 24/7 online phenomenon. Welcome to the show, Josiah. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, Dan. I appreciate the two cameras and the cutting, all the stuff you got going on over there, man. That's legendary. That's ball. Excited to get this going. I gotta show love. I gotta show love when I see stuff that I appreciate, man. But thank you so much for having me. Excited to help promote this film, Memes and Nightmares, premiering February 20th, streaming exclusively on Hulu. For me to get the opportunity to work with somebody like LeBron James, who's my favorite basketball player of all time, and work with his company Spring Hill and also the good folks over at Anscape and Starry to make this thing happen, man. I'm just super excited right now. I'm smiling ear to ear, my heart's fluttering, just ready for people to see this thing.
You should be proud and you should be honored, man. You've built a reputation as like the king of NBA Twitter. So how did you take that energy and bring it into Memes and Nightmares?
So really just for me, the film we've been working on this thing for over 3.5 years now. We did a lot of the principal photography back in 2022. For anybody who's a Twitter fan, which is now called X, I'll never call it X, only just obviously to tell you the new name that it has, but knows that there was a huge shift in 2022. The platform changed a lot. But LeBron and his crew over at Spring Hill reached out to me, said they had an idea for a film. They wanted to show some love to NBA Twitter. And I think something that was important for me was to really just pay tribute and homage to the men and women who have helped make this community what it is. Like, there's so many incredibly talented people, everyday people that have used and leveraged this thing to grow and put themselves in positions they may have never imagined, myself included, and also the players, the fans, the teams, and just this whole world. So I think this film really takes a deep dive into that world to really show people, even if you're a casual fan and you've always been curious what NBA Twitter is, this film really helps highlight that.
I agree with you. It went from tweeting to, what do we call it now? Excreting? God.
Yeah. It's always going to be Twitter to me. It ain't never changing.
All right. This film is like a buddy cop style satire on internet culture. What was it like playing off Jamal Johnson, and how was that dynamic shape the comedy?
Jamal, one of my favorite comedians, very heavy in not only the NBA Twitter, but WNBA Twitter spaces. So it's crazy. So the production team behind it, they wrote a script. I think we ended up ad-libbing about 90 to 95% of it. We would take a look at the script, whatever the emotion of the scene was, if you will. Jamal, just such an amazing improver. I was just trying to keep space with him, or keep up with him, go to toe with him, if you will. But for us, it was just, every day on set was, just us trying to make each other laugh. And I think that's really reflected in the film. And we were friends before we worked on this project. So to be able to do things with people that you respect with your friends, I think always makes things easier. So, showing up every day on set, there were some long days, 14, 16, 18-hour days, but we'd always keep the mood light. And I think even, filming this was reflective of what NBA Twitter is for a lot of us. It's just a place to get the jokes off, lighthearted, and to share our love of basketball. So being able to work with Jamel, being able to work with the other members of the production team, truly, just you have a lot of great relationships with a lot of those people. So to see this thing now finally come and be released is a labor of love, and I'm super excited about it.
And NBA Twitter has produced some of the wildest viral moments over the years. Were there any real life stories or memes that inspired scenes in the movie?
Yeah, I think we do a lot of callbacks just to NBA Twitter culture and vital moments that, if you're a basketball fan, they're basically Easter eggs, if they call them in the production world, but Easter eggs that people will be able to watch and I think understand what we're doing. But also we wanted to make sure that this thing wasn't too insidey. It wasn't just you had to be a member of NBA Twitter or deep into that world to understand the film. So we have a lot of stuff for even the casual fans to help learn and help them kind of improve their knowledge of the space. But a lot of moments that we pay tribute to throughout the film.
Josiah Johnson, you're the man. Memes and Nightmares, it drops on Hulu right now. And if you ever laughed at an NBA meme or been sucked into a Twitter debate, this one's for you. Josiah, thanks for hanging out with me, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Dan, and make sure everybody, you go watch, get Hulu if you don't got it. Check out Memes and Nightmares. It's streaming on Hulu, like Dan said. And help support me, help yourself learn about NBA Twitter.
You're the man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Have you ever watched a true crime show and thought, I'm ready for something a little different? Maybe crimes that don't revolve around murder? Well, you're in luck. There's a fascinating new docuseries called The Curious Case Of, which dives into real-life stories involving guardianships, missing persons, and even funeral home scandals. And who better to guide us through all of these twists than legal analyst and former New York City Assistant DA, Beth Karas. Beth, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you very much.
Beth, your show takes on some really unusual cases, definitely not your typical homicide stories. So why did you choose these particular topics for The Curious Case Of?
So first of all, we found that there is an appetite by the public for stories that don't have to involve murder. If you're a crime aficionado, it doesn't have to be murder and mayhem, right? So this was a nice departure from that. The Natalia Gray series, which was 3 seasons, was very successful, showed us that. So we found these really twisted, weird stories where you go on a journey. Like, what? I mean, it's like head snapping. Sometimes it's like, I can't believe they did this, or who do I believe? I don't know. I don't know what the truth is. So we look for stories that were kind of twisted that would be compelling and capture the interest of the viewer. And so far, so good.
One story that really got my attention centers on Bam Margera, someone who's been pretty open about his struggles. How did he end up on your radar?
That is a bizarre story, and that is something that producers followed for a few years. This is not something that was put together only in the past year, because we have video we created, or captured over the years as he was going through his treatment with a guardian, under the care of a guardian. Lima is her name. The family brought her in. It wasn't like she just interjected herself in Bam's life. And it was temporary. It doesn't exist anymore, the guardianship. But then there's a woman on the East Coast, this was West Coast, a woman on the East Coast who had led one of the Free Britney Spears movements, who then, once Britney was out of her conservatorship, took on the Free Bam. And so we tell, even though it's Bam's story, it's these two women butting heads. Like, what should he be in a guardianship? Is this doing more harm than good? And who is this person who's leading the Free Bam movement? Is she for real? So in the end, Bam pulls out of it. I mean, Bam reacted positively to the episode. He's married again. He's sober. He seems to be doing well. So it has a good ending.
Another case that stood out to me was the Funeral Home of Horrors. That sounds unsettling. Can you give us an overview?
And that's a recent story, right? I mean, the arrests were in the fall of 2023. They've now taken pleas. This is a husband and wife, funeral directors, who would take money from people saying, yes, we will have your loved one, your child, your husband, your parent cremated. And then they were just letting the bodies pile up in one of their 2 locations that they weren't using. And the bodies were decomposing. And they would give them ashes from someone else or cement dust they'd give the family.
Beth, I really like this series. It covers eye-opening situations without that usual murder focus. And I appreciate your time and insights. If you want to check it out, it's The Curious Case Of on ID. Thanks for joining me this morning, Beth.
My pleasure, and thank you.
And that's it for New Mexico Rising. I want to thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. To find out more about the show, go to our website, newmexicorising.com. And until next week, that was New Mexico Rising.